there is a market for a company that can actually work closely with brands and entrepreneurs and founders to define what we want to achieve.
When you play with somebody, and that too in a team sport, you get to learn a lot about the person.
It's not LinkedIn where you say, okay, fine, do they check these boxes? It goes a little beyond that. It's like a half LinkedIn, half Instagram. If you know what I mean, like, can I spend time with this person? Can I also work with this person? If both fit, then you know you have a match.
Because I've seen so many people, I want to become an engineer, but you actually have no passion to become an engineer. You just want to become an engineer because hundreds of other people are doing it, right?
So it's like riding a bicycle. The only way to move forward is by keep riding at the moment.
Welcome back to another episode, and we've got some great people with us here today. We've got two guests. No, just kidding. We've got our guest here today, Rehan, who is the co-founder of the StarterLabs, which is now a part of the Zoo Media Group. Welcome, Rehan.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks, guys, for having me. It's very professional setup. I must say, looking forward to this.
Nice. And obviously my co-host Ritesh.
Hi everyone.
How you doing, bro?
Yeah, just as usual. After I have met you, the life has been very, very, very good.
Don't make comments on me.
Ask you how are you doing? Like you've not spent the last 3 hours written in the morning.
I think we've been spending way too much time. Our wives are having problems with that now, so you should do something about it. Perfect, nice. So I think it's really good to have you here, and really looking forward to talk about your journey. We've already had this conversation before when we were planning the podcast, and it's very inspiring. And there are a lot of good things or good sort of your journey has a lot of good pointers that we took from that small conversation with you. So we thought really to do this episode with you, get that out for the audience, and there are so many new entrepreneurs who are getting into the space of this whole digital space, starting their own agencies, partnering with other people, how partnerships are working, how they're growing, how they can grow, and a whole lot of things that people are thinking. So I think whatever we talk about today would be very inspiring for them, considering your journey. So happy to get into it. If you want to just take a minute or so and introduce yourself however you'd like.
Absolutely, I'm glad you brought up the story because that's why I love to tell the story of how we kind of got started, and that's something that most entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs struggle with. Right? How do you actually get started? So, of course, the company now is a 60-person company, and we do digital solutions across content, media, and tech and we worked with over 300 brands over the last 7.5 years. But the start was very different from what we kind of see now. When we started off just my business partner Karthik and I, who the two of us actually happened to play football together. So that was a common interest that we shared, And because of that, like sports teaches us a lot about what someone else is like, especially a team sport. Because you know that, okay, fine, when you're winning as a team, and losing, you're also losing as a team, right? And then you've got to get together and stick together. So it teaches you a lot about someone else. So we, I think, learned a lot about each other, and that, okay, fine, we would be the right fit to go off the white lines of the field and into business together. And at the time, I was first working with Coca-Cola in Delhi, then with Book My Show in Bombay, and Karthik, who's my partner, was working with a lot of startups and SMEs and helping them grow and scale their digital. And one day before stepping onto the pitch, we started talking about how companies weren't leveraging digital, but at least what we thought the best of their abilities were, right? And for multiple reasons. In 2016, we didn't have to tell anyone digital is important. Everyone already knew that, right? There were people before us who'd done that work for us. But we had to help them try to figure out and navigate how they could best use digital. And a lot of reasons that people weren't doing it was one, of course, the challenge of doing everything yourselves. Yeah. And the other one, which, everyone's faced at one point, like you have a lot of agencies and vendors who do it from a very like client vendor-based model. In the sense, अच्छा सारा बताओ क्या करने का है, 30 posts say, ठीक है, I'll do it for you. You want me to optimize 100 keywords? Okay, I'll optimize for you. And this is what I'll bill you for it. Yeah, so Karthik and I decided one day that, okay, fine, before stepping onto the pitch, we're chatting about digital, and we thought that there is a market for a company that can actually work closely with brands and entrepreneurs and founders to define what we want to achieve and then figure out how we can achieve it versus just saying, hey, here's what we can do, and now you tell us what we want to do. which was the genesis of our company, the StarterLabs, and which is also why the name came in with that experimentation of art and science and keeping them both together, because business, marketing, advertising, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of science to it and there's a lot of art to it as well. So yeah, so that's how we actually got started. Then over the last 7 years, we worked with over 300 companies across various different sizes, verticals, and geographies. It's been a fun journey.
Interesting. So you met your partner on the football pitch, and some great points about, when you play with somebody, and that too in a team sport, it's you get to learn a lot about the person, which is very true. So according to you, what are the other things that you should always look at or look for when you're getting into a co-founder relationship with somebody?
Yeah.
Because I think today we all know that building successful digital houses, you need multiple leaders. One person is not able to do it. So it's very well known that you need co-founders. But how best to find a co-founder? Like, what are the things that you sort of now 6-7 years later think that, it worked out because of these things?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I'll preface that with a question that I know you didn't ask, but yeah, if you can get a really good co-founder, it's always helpful, because entrepreneurship, even with the co-founder, is a lonely journey, right? And if you're doing it alone, it's more of a lonely journey. I think a lot of conventional wisdom says that you should get someone who has a different and complementary skill set, which is true in some sense, but also depends on the stage at which you're kind of at. Like when we started, we were both 21, 22, we were both kind of fresh off the board. We'd worked 1 or 2 jobs and stuff like that. So we knew that, okay, fine, we need someone who's going to build with us. We need 2 people to build the same kind of journey. And then later on, digress and look at which paths that each one of us want to follow. But at the start, with my recommendation would be to figure out what you want this other person to solve for you. If you're, let's say, a 35-year-old entrepreneur and you know that, okay, fine, I'm amazing at everything except for marketing, for example, then you know that, okay, I need a marketing co-founder. You need someone with that specialization. A lot of people look for, you guys know better than me, look for a CTO or a tech co-founder, because that's a skill set that a lot of people have great ideas but don't have that ability. So how you find this person is difficult. It's like, how do you find your partner, your husband, your wife? How do you find a friend? A lot of it does happen organically. Of course, you can go to networking events and you can go on LinkedIn and try and find people who have the similar skill set to what you do. But people who you have some history and background with, whether it's in business or outside business, that's what I would think would typically be the best sort of relationship that you can have. And you have to always ask yourself, can I work with this person? Can I spend 8 hours with this person every day? If the answer is no, then it's going to be difficult. If the answer is yes, then you know that, okay, fine. And as you go along, you'll keep building your skill sets and see where you can specialize. So even if you're similar in terms of work, like don't let it's not LinkedIn where you say, okay, fine, do they check these boxes? It goes a little beyond that. It's like a half LinkedIn, half Instagram. If you know what I mean, like, can I spend time with this person? Can I also work with this person? If both fit, then you know you have a match.
Right.
Tell us a bit about your, prior to starting off the StarterLabs background, how you started off in your education versus how you got your first job, what was the exposure there as well? Because, in the podcast, we try to cover up, it's not like, majorly what we have seen otherwise in other podcasts is that we have like big celebrities and they're talking about their, hyper success. But in real, 99% of the businesses that are running, they are running with people like you and me.
Yeah.
So that's why the journey of till you started off your startup is also very much important, because the audience has to relate to your prior journey as well, and they also the later journey as well.
No,
Tell us. Yeah.
So I think from an educational background, I'll actually break down to 2. There's education and kind of work experience, and I feel work experience helped me a lot. From an education perspective, I did my mass media degree and understood a little bit about how advertising, journalism, and film, etc. kind of work. But throughout college and just after college, I probably did about 8 internships in various different things, just to understand different fields and skill sets, to eliminate what doesn't work, and also to say, oh, fine, I enjoy this and this is something that I can potentially do. So right after college, I was with Coca-Cola in Delhi, actually helping them with building their Nepal market, because Mountain Dew is number 1 in Nepal and Coca-Cola was number 2. So I tried to figure out, okay, why does this happen? Why does the average 23 and 25-year-old kid in Nepal drink Mountain Dew versus Coca-Cola? So that is a very interesting challenge or problem to solve. Then I moved back to Bombay and I was working with Book My Show for about a year and helping try to figure out how to start their social media and digital and content journeys, making Book My Show more from, earlier it was just an app where you could book tickets. It did its job and it did its job really nicely, but no one stayed on the platform. So if in the future another ticketing platform came in, you might use that. But Book My Show is not a brand that people loved. Like, it was a good brand, it was functional. So I said, okay, how do we add content to it? How do we engage our community? How do we write profiles of movies, show trailers, show some interesting facts and snippets? So I was part of that entire journey that the company took. And yeah, around the time during Book My Show was when Karthik and I started chatting about potentially starting a company together. But if I were to sort of strip it down to advice that I would give anybody, it would be to get your hands dirty in as many things as you can do, like whether it's internships, jobs, volunteering, projects. If you tell people that, dude, okay, fine, you want to start your agency, can you help 2 friends or 2 business or 2 family members with their business free of cost? Just run their Instagram, run some ads for them, see what it does, right? Show some proof of success. Then you can start charging someone for it a small amount and then keep gradually increasing. But show your value, showcase what you can do, and to get that value, like acquire those skills, whether you're doing a paid internship, unpaid internship, whatever it is, but get your hands dirty and work on stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting to understand from you the proof of success, the term that you coined.
Yeah.
What I've seen lately is most of the people who are now graduating and all that, they are mostly seeking the success before even putting in efforts is what a lot of times we have seen.
Quick fame.
Quick fame, yeah. So another term that we have coined now. So I also want to put off a bit smaller discussion onto what today's 20-year-old should do to understand the market and probably either find a great opportunity into the market in terms of business or find a great maybe job into the market. With respect to your proof of success that you talked about.
Yeah, so I think it lies in 2 things, right? Like, first thing is your interest, like what are you interested in doing, which is why my recommendation to people is, hey, you don't know what you're interested in doing at 21. There's so much pressure at 21 to say, this is my career and I am going to be this forever, right? You probably at 25 also doesn't make sense to do. So we try and figure out, at least I tried to figure out what I was interested in, what I would like, and also by virtue what I won't like, right? So once you get a good sense of what your interest is, then once you're interested, then okay, fine, you have a more clear direction and path. Like, a lot of people say, okay, fine, what are the best 5 fields? What does it matter? Like, if I tell you investment banking is a great field or AI is a great field, it doesn't interest you, then there's no point in doing it. Not necessarily just from a passion and a greater than life vision, but also you're not going to enjoy it and I'm going to do well at it. Right? Everyone knows law, for example, is a good profession. People know that investment banking and finance is a good profession, but if it's not for you, don't do it. You're not going to do well at it. There are enough lawyers and investment bankers who don't do well. You look at the top 1%, think, chalo, everyone in this field as well. So if you're interested in something, then you know that, okay, fine, this is something that you can pursue. And then it's proof of success whether you're an entrepreneur or a job, right? Let's say someone's coming to you for a job and saying, okay, fine, I want to be a UI UX designer for that. You're going to say, okay, great. Show me your work, right? Now that guy says, oh, I've never got the opportunity to do work in the past. I'm going to say, bro, then how do I know if I can hire you? But now if they've gone and they've told their uncle, for example, who has a sweet shop and says, I'm going to just make a website for you and just for your sweet shop free of cost. And they do that and he comes and tells you this story. I say, no, this guy has hustled. He's done something that's free of cost. He's never done this work because he's never got the opportunity. Now perhaps I'll give him the opportunity. Or if someone comes to you and says, hey, listen, I'll do your first site, as a project. I'll do it for free, for example. I'll do that. If you like it, then you pay me. If someone's willing to put themselves out there, you're also more willing to give them a chance, right? Whether you're hiring them as a founder or entrepreneur, if you're hiring them as someone who's going to potentially work with your team. But a lot of people just wait and say that, okay, once I get that opportunity, no one gives me that opportunity. No one's giving me that opportunity, so I've not got started. You can spend 5 years waiting for an opportunity, or you can spend 5 days finding that opportunity and then starting work on it.
So, Himanshu, you have...
No, I was just saying, I think 2 very good things that he said is, 1, at an early age, getting your hands dirty in as many things as possible, because you can't just do the conventional route of I went to college, I got my degree, and now I want a job. You need to do internships, you need to be out there, you need to be, going to different meetup events, just meet people, actually explore yourself, because the other thing is actually trying to find what you're good at and what you really like doing. Because I've seen so many people, I want to become an engineer, but you have you actually have no passion to become an engineer. You just want to become an engineer because 100 other people are doing it, right? So now when I am also 27 and look back at when I was 21, 20, I'm very glad somehow I stumbled upon the things we are doing now, and I'm really happy what I do with. But the reason we are good at what we are doing is because we really like what we do, right? So trying to find that, there's no direct formula to actually just work out what you're good at. Like all these aptitude tests don't really actually give you what you're good at. But it's a journey that you go through at an early age, but it's more about exploration and, getting out there to do something. So really good points when getting your hands dirty and, doing as many things as possible. Don't follow the conventional journey of doing your college and finding a job and all. Just do some interesting stuff. You'll always do good.
Yeah, if that works for you, then great. But if you want to get into entrepreneurship, you want to become that's not a conventional journey. Exactly. So your college and your degree, as you rightly said, is not going to prepare you for that. It'll prepare you for some level of that, maybe 50%, 60%, whatever number you want to run it. But it's not going to get you over the line. That's where you have to force yourself to the line.
Achha, tell me about, you met your co-founder Karthik.
Yeah.
And then you decided to start StarterLabs. So it's never a journey wherein, two people just meet and they just figure out ki ye chalu karna, it suddenly succeed, gets you success.
Yeah.
There might be, you might have seen the gap into the market. There might be some requirements. You might have figured out that you want to start something which is eventually called as StarterLabs. So walk us through the journey as well.
Yeah, so the genesis of this thought came when I was actually talking to a friend and they were telling me about their business. They run a very, very successful business. They were reasonably successful. It was a great idea. And I figured, okay, fine, but they're not really doing much about it digitally. Then I was talking to a cousin of mine. She was struggling to get her website off the ground. And I was trying to figure out that, okay, fine, everyone seems to have this same, broad, at that time I didn't know what it was, but this broad marketing kind of challenge. Good at product. Let's say you're a manufacturer and you can make this lovely shirt that you're wearing, right? If you're the best at it, that doesn't mean you're going to be the best company at it. The best company is also going to be the company that markets it the best. Right? Which that's how it works, man, whether you like it or you don't like it. So we try to figure out why are these guys not able to market their good products and services. And then one day I knew Karthik was in the same kind of industry. So I said that, dude, let's catch up one day and just want to chat with you about something. I said, dude, this seems to be a problem. Like, can we potentially help people like this? Like, help them set up, run their socials. That time, of course, Facebook was number one from a social platform. Can we help them run their Facebook ads, get people onto their site, build this kind of stuff for them, and make sure that they actually we have some business impact and can give them sales. We didn't want to be an advertising agency in the sense that was not the intention. The intention wasn't to say that we'll do sexy video and sexy photo work for you and great design and copy. So, dude, how do we get these guys sales? How do we get them some impact? How do we generate leads for them? So that's when we started talking, and he said, oh yeah, even I was thinking of something similar, like how can I help XYZ startup to do this, and I know my friend who does so-and-so, and I want to help them acquire customers and build better tech, etc. So that's when he said, okay, fine, let's try and help startups. Slowly we figured that the best way to actually do this and help companies was this digital route. With the initial thought, before we kind of pivoted to just focusing from a digital point of view, was how do we help these companies grow and scale? That was basically it. How do we be an entrepreneur's best friend?
It's quite interesting whenever you say that let's help XYZ companies or let's help startups do XYZ things. You never said that let's acquire clients or let's go and get business. In fact, this is one of the very core thing that I feel makes the cream people or the successful people separate, differentiated from the ones who are like into their rat race of acquiring clients. Well, let's help people. Eventually, you're gonna get paid for it, and not just run behind getting clients and then just churning out money from them like that. So it's very interesting. Again, it's more or less like I and Himanshu also discussed. It's about what do we offer as value,
absolutely,
versus what is the quotation that we are going to give, or what is the cost that we are giving. So we don't get into that calculation. First thing, we are always what are we going to offer as a value to them, and then eventually we get down to the cost.
And if your business is critical to somebody, they're going to keep you on for as long as your business is critical to them, right? If you're helping them, you're taking a fee for it, but those 3 lakhs a month or whatever you're taking from them, if you're able to generate 10 lakhs a month, then your business is critical. They're not going to let you go. Like we've had instances with companies where we've said that, oh, fine, it's not financially working, or now we have to stop. And they say, no, you can't stop. You need to continue because they have to take it to our business success. So fine, that's a great problem to have. But you want to be on that side of the problem. You don't want to have the other problem where, you can be let go tomorrow and there's no difference to the brand, right? Then you're doing work, and sure, you might be doing good work, but at least our philosophy or our theory was, how do you do business critical work for people?
So walk us through, you started off, first of all, how did you come up with the name? Because name is one big headache that everyone faces. How did you come up with the name, the StarterLabs? And then what was your first team? How did you hire them? What all things did you saw, etc. around it?
Okay, so the name was, and everyone's name is a funny story, right? And that time we didn't have ChatGPT and all to help you with name generators. You still have ChatGPT. It's still a nightmare to figure out your name. The honest answer was a very simple answer. We had this mentor who had a Singapore-based startup incubator called IdeaWave Labs. And we said, okay, this lab sounds cool, so we'll use labs and helping startups, so let's call it the StarterLabs. And we found the domain and .com, so we said, perfect, this is it, let's go with it, let's roll with it. So that's how we came up with the name, the StarterLabs. And what was the second part of your question, Ritesh?
It was about, once you have started your company, what was your first team hire and everything around it?
It's not first. So again, now you're going to think that everything we do is around football only.
You hired anyone?
He's actually an engineer, and he had 6 months until he was going to university. So I told him, bro, 6 months until for a few months, do you want to work with us? Because we have a little more work than we can kind of handle right now. So yeah, sure, I'll come in and I'll work with you guys, whatever you need. So he said, perfect. So he started working with us. And then maybe a year or so, or 6 months, the numbers a little blurry in my mind. We figured, okay, fine, now we need to actually set up a proper team of 2 and 3 people to help us manage and run this entire operation. At the start, the best way to do it is honestly through networks and people you know. So the first 2-3 people are people that either we knew or friends and stuff like that, or then became employees' friends. That's the best place to get started with, because you have people you know who you can trust, who you can spend time explaining what the vision of your company is. And then as you grow on, then it becomes easier and easier to attract talent. And also, as your company grows, you have money to do your LinkedIn ads, to hire recruiters and stuff like that. But at the start, can you find someone who's passionate about whatever field you're in, and who you feel that, okay, fine, I can work with this guy. I think that's the one-liner that we always thought at the start. Like, I'm not so bothered if this guy is good or bad, obviously, rather that he's good or bad, but can I work with him? Can I get the best out of them? Can I help them? Can they help me? Is this the right place for them? Is this the right place for me? At the very least, can they spend 12 months over here where they've learned a lot, grown well, done good work for us? We're fine with that.
Right. Yeah. So, taking the conversation ahead, you built your team eventually. You're like almost approximately more than 60 people.
Yeah.
I want also to deep dive into the culture part of things. We were having this discussion over a flat culture versus a proper organization structure. I want to understand, what culture are you following at StarterLab? What is working for you? And what are your also thoughts on, either of them culture, and why are you preferring the one that is at StarterLabs?
Yeah. So again, I want to answer this in binary, because is there a hierarchical structure or is it a flat structure? I look at them in 2 different ways, in the sense that from a team structure point of view, once you grow to a certain extent, you have 10 plus people, there's gonna be like some hierarchy, which is inherently not a bad thing. It's something that you kind of need. But from a pure culture and ethos point of view, that's a flat level structure. So it's not that because Rehan has said that we'll do it this way, and the junior executive has said we'll do that, we go with Rehan's idea. If the junior exec's idea is better, and better, whether it's subjectively, objectively, more people agree with it, whatever the democratic reason for that is, then that's fine. So from a culture point of view, you try to keep it flat. Anyone will sit with anyone at the lunch table, anyone can walk into anyone's meeting room, etc. There's no one who's better than someone. The reason to have a structure, but then you might say, okay, Rehan, that means it's a flat structure. The reason it's also not a flat structure is because at some places you do need that level of accountability.
Yeah.
And also that level of helping. If you're a junior who's come in as a designer, you don't want the structure to be such a flat structure that there's no one to help you. You still want your manager to be there to help you and your director to be there to help you. So from a team's perspective, that helps the most. But from pure culture point of view, you try to keep it as relaxed and open as possible.
Yeah. And I think that is sort of the answer today for the agency world where you sort of do need a hierarchy, is the sense that there needs to be a leader for every domain and to run the team under them. I think from a work consistency point of view, because if there's a design leader, your work comes out consistent because obviously they have a certain experience. Junior joining, they get to learn from the leader as well. So it's I think it's very important to have that structure, but at the same time, as you said, from a culture point of view, having it flat is always good, because you foster a much better culture within the team. But retention, I think, becomes better when it's that. I'm sure it's because the
growth is not hype for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. So also, now that you have come to the number of 60, I'm sure in the past 6-7 years, there must be a time when you were at a certain number and your growth must have plateaued for some reason. Was there a time like that? And if there was, how did you get out of it? Like, how did that journey go?
Yeah, there were 2 times when our growth kind of plateaued in some sense. One was during the COVID pandemic. So that was one of those which is extenuating circumstances, and we kind of had to deal with it and live with it. Fortunately, we didn't have to let go of anyone. We were maybe about 20-21 people at the time, maybe a few numbers up and down. But for about 6-7 months, other than hiring one SEO person, which was a strategic decision to expand that business, which is a risk when everyone is letting go of people we are hiring. But at that time, we saw growth plateau, but fair enough. It was an industry-wide thing. What we were able to do, and this goes back to what we were saying, when you're business critical, that's why companies didn't let go of us. We were one of the last vendors, agencies, whatever you want to call it, partners that people actually separated with, because we were crucial to people's business success. If they let go of us, they were letting go of a lot of income that they were getting anyway. But at that time, that was about just riding the wave, doing a lot of pivoting on strategy. So when COVID hit, for example, when the lockdown was announced at 9 o'clock in the night, by 1 o'clock in the morning, Karthik and I had emailed all our clients with strategies of, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to salvage your business for the next 1 month, because that's what their business was suffering, right? And this goes back to the mentality of, if we're helping their business survive, our business is also going to survive, right? Because we're important to them. So even if it's from a selfish perspective, it's not selfish is the second thought. The first thought is, okay, let me help my client do well. If they do well, I know I'm going to do well. I'm going to be fine, right? They're going to pay me if I'm good, if their business is doing okay. So that's one way we kind of read, and we were very proud of ourselves. So whatever 15 clients or how many we had at the time, we made sure that within 4-5 hours we had the baseline of the strategy, and then set up a poll in the next 2 days to discuss how we were going to execute all of it. That was during COVID. Then there's another time where it wasn't really a plateau, but one thing that we saw, it was like what we call the leaky bucket syndrome. Like, keep adding clients, we keep losing clients also. So because it's not making sense. Like, why are we losing? So like, some clients you lose because of no fault of your own, business doesn't work. Some of it could be your fault, but we said, okay, fine. We were getting, at least we felt that the quality of work was not standard across. We could give you a 9 on 10, but we could also give you a 5 on 10 on a particular piece of creative, right? Very honestly. And we're trying to figure, why is this going on? And that gave us that sort of broader perspective. This is maybe in 2022 or something like that. And then we said, okay, fine, we need really, really strong department heads to make sure that this doesn't happen from a quality control point of view. Because we saw was happening is if you were giving me a 9 on 10 creative on average, but there's someone else who's giving me a 5 on 10. But I was not the right person to take that 5 to a 9. I could take a 5 to a 6.
Right.
So he said, whether it's from a time point of view, skill set point of view. So we made sure that every department had very, very strong senior level leadership. And then within 1 year, almost by magic, it wasn't magic, it was a lot of hard work and you pay a lot of money to senior talent. But you saw after a year or so, those quality problems just reduced drastically. And then that sort of leaky bucket syndrome got fixed.
Right.
It's very interesting. In fact, a lot of terms you've started quoting now. Another one is the third one is leaky bucket syndrome. So talking about leaky bucket syndrome, we have seen a lot of leaky buckets in hiring talents as well, specifically nowadays. Wherein you keep on hiring talent, you try to retain them, you train them, and suddenly then they leak out, and then you have to again rehire, and then it keeps on happening. So walk me through that as well. What is a general retention rate versus how do you manage the millennials versus the Gen Zs, and the attitude change of people who are in their 30s versus in their 20s versus teens?
No, sure, and you're right. The sort of retention is a big challenge, not just from a brand and client point of view, but also from a people point of view. And we look at it differently, not necessarily generations differently, but you look at different types of roles differently. So if you have a department level director, they're far more likely to stick because they're more invested in the business and they're at a certain level, they're probably being paid what they want and they're happy with that. Yeah, so you're right, Ritesh, in the sense that retention is important from a employer team perspective as much as it is from a brand perspective. Because we don't have a good talent, you're not going to give good product. And we look at it a little differently, not necessarily from a generation point of view, but from a what inspires you point of view. Like a department director is more invested in the company. They're quite likely at a more senior level. They're being paid well. They don't want to keep changing roles now. They're at the point of view where they want, at that point, they want to kind of stick with the company and help grow their department, their field. But you also have to be very realistic and honest that two things are going to happen, right? Your talent is going to leave, you know that, whether they're going to study, they have a better job, a better offer, etc. What we try to make sure is that, dude, if someone's leaving because they want more money or something, fine, fair enough. We don't want someone to leave because their culture is not good or they're not growing. So those are the two things that we have in our control. So you can say, is this person growing and is our culture good? So those are the things we control. Can we control that no one will ever give someone a better job offer? Of course not. People will give job offers. And we also might be that company where other people look at us and say, these guys are throwing money at people and stuff like that. So we understand that will happen. We're also happy that our retention rate is above industry standard. Industry standard is ridiculously low. I think it's at 9 months or something like that. So every 9 months, the average person leaves their role. So ours is about 14, 15 months, and hopefully it'll only get better because it has been getting better. But yeah, that's how you kind of look at it. And you have to be like realistic with yourselves that there will be people who will come and go. But if they're going, make sure they're not going for the wrong reason. They're not going because you don't have anything for them or you're not helping them grow. That's how we try to look at it.
That's a very important thing because you don't, as you said, if you're helping the team grow, they would want to, stick there for slightly longer as compared to just go somewhere else for a bit more money.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of people who've come back to us, like they've left the company that they were somewhere else and then they reapplied and rejoined us. So you don't come back to a bad culture.
Yeah.
You always come back to a good culture. If you know the culture is bad, you're never coming back. So that gives us a clear indication that, okay, people are enjoying it over here. And then that's the main controllable that we have. I can't control another company does a sales to someone from my people. I can control that we give them the best first food experience. And a lot of people will call us after 2-3 weeks or 1 month, 2 months of leaving and say, I'm not enjoying it. Okay, well, you have an opening, then we guarantee you need to give back against. But yeah, it's a good sign that people want to come back.
Talk to me about, your roles as Dr. Pondisanam and your Karthik are working together. Of course, then you are to the initial days. The roles are, of course, clearly got taught.
Yeah.
So you just do chief everything officer, and then eventually when you grow as an organization, you have very defined roles. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, I'm not going to cover what our roles are because exactly what you said. Like, everyone does everything. And that wasn't just two of us. There was the 2-3 people who were in our team also. Until we started defining that, you will be the client servicing person, you will write copy, you will do design, etc., which happens a little later. But now our roles are defined in the sense that a lot of my responsibility is to sort of grow the business and a lot of Karthik's responsibility is to help successfully operate the business. Sure. And then there'll be a lot of overlap because you have different problems at different times, right? And sometimes your big challenge is your operation and sometimes your challenge is building business. So we both help out with both and we're both happy to help out with both. In fact, we both don't want it to be perfectly segregated where one does one and one does the other. So we try to do a little bit of both. And then there are a few things within each vertical. And then, of course, I'm naming 2 things. There are obviously 10 things and those we kind of split a little bit as well.
All right. So let's talk about, you also told us that there was a phase wherein you were mentored. Mm-hmm. And then that also helped you ahead into, defining StarterLabs and eventually getting acquired as well at Zoom Media. Yeah. So talk to us about that because the whole story has been quite organic and quite, this genie keeps on popping in football or gyms and somewhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, so 2 separate stories. So the mentorship that we had was by this gentleman, Chris, who actually helped us quite a lot. And again, mentorship is also like a weird one. It's like friendship. You can't go up to someone and say, hi, can you be my friend? And like, how good is that? Yeah, you can do that for a second and that's awesome. But unfortunately, you can't. No, so it has to be a little bit of an organic journey where someone's genuinely helping you. You can initiate it the same way that with a friendship, you can text someone saying, hey, do you want to meet for coffee or do you want to go out for a drink or whatever. So the same way you can say, hey man, I could use your help with this. Can you help me with this business problem that I'm solving? And if that person's, happy to help you and they keep serving and helping you, then you know that, okay, fine, you can consider this person to kind of be a mentor. So we were very fortunate that at the start we did have that. The Zoom media conversation actually happened a lot later. So I bumped into Subir, who is one of the founders of Zoom Media, at the gym, funnily enough. And I can also remember, I was asking the trainer, can you give me some more back exercises? He said, okay, no, you can do. So Subir was saying, you can do this, you can do that. I was like, okay, great, thank you very much, kind stranger. And then later in the locker room, I said, hey, thanks, do you come often, etc., etc. Small talk. So what do you do, by the way? So he said, oh, I'm in advertising. Oh, great, I'm in advertising. So I asked him, first, what do you do? So have you heard of this company, Foxy Moron? So he said, yeah, that's where I work. So I said, okay, well, what do you do over there? So I'm one of the founders. So, oh, nice, that's cool, man. So I said, then exactly though you bought this friendship, mentorship conversation. Sometime later, I asked him, I said, hey bro, can I come down and, can we chat? Because there's a few things that, where we could use your help with. So we went and we met him once and, he helped us very organically in maybe 2019 or 2018, 2019. And that was that for some time. Then during, once COVID hit in 2020, then he started reaching out to us and saying, yeah, how's work going? We said, oh, great. He started referring few clients to us. So, okay, fine. This sounds great. Too good to be true, almost. And then it went one step further. I said, okay, tell me about your business. I'll help you structure it. And he was giving us great advice. This is how you do your financial planning. This is how you do your recruitment. Everything was amazing. Then finally, I said, oh, what's something going on? So I asked him, dude, thank you for helping us, but why are you helping us? Can you tell me? So he said, okay, give me a few minutes. I'm getting into the car and calling you. He was on his way somewhere, I'm assuming. So then he said, okay, fine, we've started this network called Zoom Media and we're interested in acquiring a company like yours. So, okay, great. This has happened very, very quickly. We weren't surprised because the Zoom Media story was public by then.
Right.
But that's how it kind of came about, So there's a series of small things which kind of grew and became bigger. We obviously had to take the most of our opportunities. It would be very easy for me to bump into him at the gym and that be that. But then to pursue it. So whenever you're given any opportunity, you need to make sure you kind of make the most of that. Someone walks you to the door, you've got to open the door. You can't just wait for someone to open it for you, and find the door. It's find the door is more of what I would say than once you're at the door. So then that happened and then our conversations progressed and maybe it took, all in all must have taken a year, a little more than a year for all the paperwork and everything to come into place for us to agree to terms. But that was the StarterLabs and Zoom Media story.
Yeah, so I think you rightly said this. Somebody, quite long ago told me that, we always keep on saying that this guy was lucky enough to do this. This guy was lucky. Yeah. But the point is that luck is happening has to be first, thought of. Yeah, luck is happening. Yeah. Then let me take opportunity. Let me take advantage of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're never lucky sitting in your bedroom doing nothing, right? You're lucky because you're out there doing things. You're putting out content that people can see. People know what you're doing. Even over here, a lot of the work that we were doing, he already knew because we'd either posted it on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever it was. So that's what also, when people say make your own luck, sure, there's an element that you have to, luck and opportunity will arrive, but you also have to be there to sort of inspire it and then also to make the most of it.
It's like, when a door shows up, it's also making sure you identify it as a door that you have to knock now and, take advantage of that opportunity or, make the best of it. So I think a lot of people don't end up identifying such opportunities as well because for multiple reasons maybe. So that's one very good thing. A lot of your stuff has been extremely organic and just happened, but it's also, now that you tell the story, it feels like it's been organic, but there's been effort from your side, I'm sure.
It's always question framing. If you're struggling with some aspect of something. So again, an entrepreneur won't actively go around looking for advice on things. So you're not asking every person on the street. But you've identified what your problem is. So for example, let's say one of the problems that you're facing is that you're not able to attract the right talent.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Now now your eyes are open and you frame that question correctly. Why am I not attracting the right talent? Can you talk to other founders, entrepreneurs, or the best HR professionals that you know of? Then you're actively seeking them out. So you're going for an HR conference. and then you happen to meet someone over there who is happy to talk to you. And now it looks like luck, but it's not luck because you framed your question and now you've got to that place. And then then luck has met you. But you had to go half the journey yourself.
So it's most like, as entrepreneurs, you do identify these problems, but you end up trying to solve those problems yourself. Like, I know I need to hire the right talent. What do I do for hiring it? But it's more like you need to get out there as well and try and, maybe seek advice or ask somebody. And that's how you actually get that problem out there. And somebody might just, connect you somewhere and just works out. So I think that's a very important point. Great. So Abhi, now tell me so again, you've come through this whole journey, recently acquired by Zoom Media. So how's the future looking like now? What have you, like, I'm sure you've planned the next 1, 2, 3 years for something. So how's the future looking like for the StarterLabs?
Yeah, the future of the company is it's looking good. From a financial point of view, it looks great. Now, I think a large part of what our focus is not to sound arrogant, but keep doing the work, doing to improve it, to keep knocking away and doing little more and more. But yeah, a big goal for the last year was client retention, to make sure that we have clients on because we're doing good work. We've kind of done that. We want to do that again. We of course want to keep incrementally improving everything. So if you're asking this question 1 year ago, 2 years ago, I've had a lot of answers. Right now, the answer is what we set out to do 1 or 2 years ago. We're on that path. There's no reason to deviate from the path. We're going in the right direction where a lot of the industry is suffering. So we want to keep going in that direction, which is also damn hard. It's hard to do what you've said you were going to do 2 years ago and still do it. But yes, that's what we do want to do. It's not a new answer, but it's the answer that sustains. It's like when you're making a New Year resolution is to go to the gym every day, but you've been going to the gym every day for 1 year, then your resolution's on track. You just stick to it and you'll be fair.
It makes sense, actually. You don't have to have a new resolution every year. You can just stick to the last year's one and continue doing it. And I don't think it's arrogant at all, because it's great that you've worked out what needs to be done, and you're doing great, so just keep doing great, sort of thing. That's amazing. Cool. You want to add something?
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, after StarterLabs got acquired at Zoom Media.
Yeah.
What did change from what? Of course, there were a couple of problems that got solved.
Yeah.
So what were those? And now, how did the vision also change? Because I'm sure the vision might have expanded.
Absolutely, that's a great question. And the simple answer is that what changed was we started getting a lot of bigger work, bigger clients, and with that, better paying work also in some sense, but also more difficult work. So in that, we had to change. And we had to change our mindset, our mentality, to look at it from a bigger picture and bigger point of view. And also getting the talent that could kind of service that expectation. So that is a huge thing that really changed. There are a lot of small things that changed. That there was better financial structuring, little better comms that we put out, much better HR and recruitment, that type of stuff. But the main thing was the level and the scale of work that we were doing. That overnight kind of shot up. I say overnight, it was actually maybe 6 months, 12 months, but in a 7-year journey, that feels like that happened overnight.
Yeah. Interesting. So, summing out on, the podcast, now that we have talked for a quiet 40-50 minutes, what would be your advice to the budding entrepreneurs who are probably trying to get into the same space as you are?
Yeah.
One. Two, to the new talent who wants to join in and, work with companies like yours.
Yeah.
And also, what would be your advice to the people who are at plateau and still trying their best to run their businesses?
Yeah, I think the one-line answer for all of them is to kind of show value. Because you're showing value, whether it's as a company or showing value to your potential clients, whether you've shown value, like let's go back to our example of saying, okay, I can build great websites. Can you show me one great website you built? Now build that free of cost for a friend or a family member, etc. So once you show that value, again, the same thing will happen once you interview with someone. If you've shown value, they'll quite possibly take you on. Of course, you have to be out there, you have to show people, you have to meet people, you have to do all of that. But that's the one thing that I would say. Far too many people are waiting for some opportunity to strike versus saying, let me do something and show my work, then opportunity will kind of come to me, From a plateau point of view, I think that you can answer a little differently, because if you've plateaued, probably you have shown value and now something's not working. But at least in our industry, there's either a demand problem or a supply problem. Now you see what you need to fix. The demand problem, if I'm getting clients, but they're going out very quickly, then there's an issue with the quality of my work, my service, etc. or people aren't coming in, my work is good and people are staying on with me, then you know what problem to fix. The hard thing to do is to identify the problem. But once you've identified it, then you start working on it. Then it becomes a much more solvable problem. And don't expect solves for a 5-year-old business is not going to have a solve in 10 days. You spend time building it at 5 years, you've grown like that, and now it's this. Don't expect it to go like this again. Like, it will take a little time for you to do that. Of course, the aim should always be that you get hyper growth, so to speak. But you also have to understand at what cost you want that, right? You don't, again, then want to start in your ways to get new clients, let your current ones suffer. The focus should always be doing the best work for what you currently have and then kind of building on that, you know? Which I guess in some sense I just said that Karthik's work is more important than mine, right? Because he has to keep the ship sailing.
No, yeah, that's amazing, because I think for companies that are plateauing, they can be plateauing for a lot of different reasons. And as you said, it's very important to identify what's the problem. It could be the demand, it could be the supply. So you need to identify that and fix that. And sometimes, like, this is just my 2 cents to it. Sometimes some businesses just plateau because of the sheer reason of that's the extent it can go to.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And then you just stay there. You make sure you stay there because you know that's the ceiling. You can't go any higher. But then you don't come down at least. So that's for some businesses, maybe plateauing is not the worst thing as well. But then you have to make sure maybe it's pivoting into a different thing to add a new service or seeing what's required for the next 2, 3, 5 years and then something like that. Because something that you started 5 years ago might not be relevant today. Right? So
that's an interesting way to kind of look at it also. And there's this sort of this bicycle example. You have to keep moving forward, even if it's to stay where you are. Because let's just assume that inflation in India is what, some 7-8%. So you have to grow by minimum 7-8% even to be at that level. But you just need to grow. Just like riding a bicycle, the only way to move forward is by keep riding at the moment. The moment you stop, you can't be stationary. You're going to fall down.
Yeah.
So you have to keep progressing and keep working away in some direction, you know. And if that means that you're cycling up the slope and you're actually still going down, you still need to cycle. If you stop, you're going to go way down very quickly. Exactly. So you have to keep working, and that then drive is important for entrepreneurship business. You guys know it, you deal with it every day, show up every day and do good work, man. You're not going to be able to do, like, consistency is not necessarily this. It can be like this, but the fact is that it's always moving. You're always progressing in some direction.
True, absolutely. I think great. I think we've covered a lot of interesting points. Your whole journey, a lot of good advice coming out. I think one key thing that I've taken away is the way you started was trying to solve a problem by adding value and not actually thinking from a business perspective. Okay, I want to start a business. How do I get my first client? That wasn't the thought process. I think that is the thought process for most of the young entrepreneurs today. Okay, cool. We know we want to do this. Let's go out and get the first client. But the idea is not to go out and add value or, try to identify a problem that they are really good at fixing or something like that. So I think if that's your idea and that's how you start, your drive is for a different reason. And then you can, get into the market and grow quite nicely. Yeah. So those are the closing points from me. Anything?
Yeah, I think even I also took the same, outcome. Majorly adding value is something that Rehan, I think, deeply believes in. That's why he keeps on attracting all the interesting chaps around him. But Rehan, how do our audience can reach out to you?
Well, on LinkedIn, that's where I'm pretty active and responsive. So that would probably be the best way to reach out to me if you have anything that you want to.
Perfect. Anything you'd like to add before we close off? How did you feel about this?
Oh, this was great fun, and I'm hoping to do this again. And we've not announced it publicly, so it's the half announced it right now. We are looking at sort of starting another venture as well within the network. It's like in the more product space, so excited to see how that comes out. We're still trying to work on what it is. It's in the apparel and the men's fashion space, so we're trying to figure the rest of it out. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, the day-to-day this is our day-to-day, and this is what we're going to be running. But we're potentially going to be doing that. So yes, that's going to be an interesting journey. Hoping to talk to you guys once a little bit of that is in place. But this was great fun. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the conversation. Brought back a lot of old stories and memories for me as well. But thanks a ton, guys, for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Great, amazing. So I think it was overall. I think I really loved today's episode. I think for especially for young entrepreneurs and people who are getting out of their universities to, get into their career, maybe a job or something. A lot of good stuff came out for them. So thank you so much for firstly being with us, doing this for us, and kindly giving your time for this. That's amazing, because obviously people like you, when you're giving out these advices to people, it's very valuable for a lot of people. So thank you so much. Thanks for your time.